In the past month or so, the Western Cape has seen an unprecedented number of protests, as well as damage to property, costing the city of Cape Town tens of millions of rand. The city says it has had to deal with more than 100 land invasions,
which has caused us to have to clear 57,498 structures, about 82 arrests, and in all of this our staff have paid the price. There are 46 injuries to staff members during this time. 17 of our vehicles were damaged, 13 private vehicles. The cost to infrastructure includes a community hall, a clinic.
Smith says the protests are taking away valuable resources that could be used elsewhere. Golden Arrow has lost 8 buses to arson this year in Philippi, Delft, Khayelitsha and Mitchell's Plain.
Demonstrators demand liberty for the political prisoners and arrested protesters. After 9 days of unprecedented protests calling on President Alexander Lukashenko to resign, workers across the country joined a nationwide strike called by the opposition. Go away, chanted factory workers at the president who had come to shore up support. In an exchange with a worker, Lukashenko said new elections were possible, but only after the country holds a referendum. New and fair elections are what the opposition leader Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, now in exile in Lithuania, campaigned for.
Well, it's hard really to see a good option for Vladimir Putin in this conflict at the moment. It looks as though Russia is leaning towards supporting Alexander Lukashenko, but there are clearly big disadvantages to that, seeing how extremely unpopular he has become. But we have seen Russian military vehicles moving towards the Belarusian border, which might not be a sign that an invasion is imminent, but that they want to keep that option open. Also, Vladimir Putin spoke about this crisis with the German Chancellor Angela Merkel today, and the Kremlin readout from that was that the Kremlin had stressed that no intervention, external intervention in Belarus would be acceptable, sounding very much like the Kremlin didn't want the West or Europe to intervene in Belarus, which basically sounds like an attempt to give credence to Lukashenko's rather far-fetched line that the European Union, NATO or the West in general would be preparing to intervene in Belarus.
This was the moment a rocket struck the Afghan capital Kabul, one of more than a dozen to hit the city Tuesday. Officials said at least 10 people, including children, were wounded and foreign embassies went into lockdown when the attack took place. Government spokesman said 14 rockets landed in different parts of the city and were fired from 2 vehicles. Witnesses say they heard at least 4 rockets land near the Green Zone, the diplomatic area home to many embassies and NATO's headquarters. The identity of the attackers is unknown as of Tuesday afternoon, though 2 suspects have been arrested.
A magnitude 6.5 earthquake has struck the central Philippines, killing 1 person and injuring dozens more. A family in Masbate province were left trapped when their house collapsed. There's no threat of a tsunami, but authorities are warning people to prepare for aftershocks.
Well, definitely, Rob. It also comes at a time, at a week, when President Rodrigo Duterte also announced that he's going to ease restrictions. He's going to allow more trade to pass through different provinces. And as you know, Masbate province is an agricultural area like many other provinces affected by this earthquake. And officially, though, these restrictions will be eased starting tomorrow, Wednesday morning.
The UN-backed court in The Hague is summing up its case against 4 men accused of being involved in the assassination of the former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik Hariri in Beirut in 2005. The accused men, tried in absentia, are members of the powerful Lebanese group Hezbollah. It denies any involvement. A 5th man, a senior Hezbollah commander, was originally indicted before he was killed in Syria. The court has not delivered its verdict yet, but in summing up, the judge, who has said there is no evidence that the leadership of the Hezbollah militant group was involved.
On Friday, the NYPD police union formally endorsed President Trump on his re-election bid.
I have 36 years on this job, 21 as the president of this fine organization. I cannot remember when we've ever endorsed for the office of President of the United States until now. That's how important this is.
In response, local Democrat lawmakers took issue with the fact that a public service union in a heavily left-leaning city made a point to endorse a Republican political candidate. One of these responses came from New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who said in a tweet, "Does anyone else see a potential problem with police unions, enforcement arms of the state with lethal weapons, promoting preferred candidates for office? Or is it just me?"
South Korea and the U.S. have started their annual joint military drills, though they're scaled down because of the recent uptick in COVID-19 cases in South Korea. This year's exercises are scheduled to run through August 28th, involving computer-simulated war scenarios. U.S. Forces Korea heightened the health protection level for its service members in all areas of South Korea early Monday. Under the revised rules, the number of personnel working on bases will be reduced. The USFK will also check the temperatures of all people entering its bases.
Back now with the hero husband saving his wife from a great white shark, repeatedly punching the animal until it let go of her leg, then working to stop the bleeding as he pulled his wife to shore. Here's ABC's Maggie Rulli.
Tonight, the terrifying moment, a husband rushing to save his wife as she's attacked by a great white shark.
I just saw the water splash and punch, and I knew instantaneously just from seeing other things like that. So I just started paddling.
Mark Rapley and his wife Chantel Doyle were surfing off the coast of Australia when he says the shark knocked her into the water. Fighting for her life, the 35-year-old scrambled back up on the board, but the roughly 10-foot-long shark already had a hold of her leg.
You just react, you just get off that calf. That's all I could think was just get off.
Leaping on top of his wife's body, he began punching the shark until the animal finally let go.
Iceland's most active volcano is stirring up once again. The Grímsvötn volcano has erupted 13 times since the year 1902, and experts now believe that it is primed to erupt yet again within a year's time. Measurements taken near the volcano confirm that the land there is starting to rise. The water levels near the summit have also started to swell. Both of these are indications of an impending eruption. Grímsvötn is an ice-capped volcano, so eruptions are preceded by glacial flooding. The volcano's last eruption in 2011 was the biggest in 140 years, but scientists say that it is unlikely to be a big one this time around. Grímsvötn normally has an eruption cycle of 5 to 10 years, making the next 12 months quite precarious.